Welcome back to my channel where I make crafts and DIYs of all kinds. If you enjoy this type of content, please feel free to check out my other videos and subscribe and hit that alert button if you would like to see more in the future. I love decorating my house in general, but especially for the fall and winter seasons. And today I am showing you how I made this adorable little fabric pumpkin with a gold leaf accent. Let's get right into it. To start, I'm taking gold paint and a very cheap fake leaf and painting the leaf. It doesn't matter if the leaf is cheap. You can see the stem isn't even properly centered on mine, but the gold paint makes it look good regardless. Once the front is done and is pretty much dried, I'm flipping it over to paint the back. And then you can paint another coat if needed. It takes 2 coats until I'm happy with it. You could do more or less depending on how opaque your paint is and how much coverage you want. Next, I'm taking an 8 by 16 inch rectangle of fabric, which you may recognize from our previous video, and folding it in half. Then I'm sewing along the short edges. This is done on my machine just with a regular straight stitch. Now I'm going to prepare to gather the pumpkin. This can be done by hand or with a sewing machine, but I'm sewing 2 rows of long stitches around the bottom and the top openings of the tube I've made. Make sure not to backstitch on this part and don't overlap any of the stitches either, because it'll make it really hard to gather later on. The second row should be just a little bit above the first one. Once the gathering stitches are complete, I have several really long tails of thread, and what I'm doing is I'm finding 2 on one side of it, so 1 from each row of stitches, and I'm knotting the 2 together so that I can keep track of them. Once this is done, I'm gathering the fabric together by pulling it along the thread so it bunches up. I hold 2 threads at a time, and I switch back and forth between each end, just to make it easier. Once it's gathered to my satisfaction, I'm taking a needle and thread and stitching it the rest of the way closed because there's still a bit of a hole there. Just a few stitches back and forth through the center of the gathered fabric does the trick. Now it's time to stuff it. I'm flipping it right side out and filling it with stuffing I'm repurposing from an old pillow we had lying around. You can stuff the pumpkin as full as you like, making it as soft or firm as you prefer. When it's nice and filled and squishy, I'm repeating the gathering process for the top of the pumpkin. I wind up running an extra row of gathering stitches with my needle and thread by hand to make sure I like how the gathers look and to get the hole a little bit tighter. And then I stitch it all through the middle a few times to secure it. And I'm left with a little poof. And now it's time to add ridges. Using a long needle and some embroidery floss with a knot at the end, I'm bringing the needle down through the middle of the pumpkin from top to bottom and pulling all of the embroidery floss through. Then I'm repeating and pulling it tight to make the beginning of the first bump. It's necessary to squish the pumpkin down tight as I go. This process is repeated over and over, spacing the embroidery floss all around the pumpkin to make as many ridges as needed. You may have to adjust the embroidery floss, play with it a bit, especially in the beginning, to get it the way that you want it. When my pumpkin is as bumpy as I like, I secure the end of the floss by pulling the needle back and forth through the middle of the pumpkin several times so that it doesn't come undone, and then I clip the end. It's not really necessary to knot it because everything is so tight in the middle at this point that it should just be held in place. When this is complete, it should look something like this. And finally, I break a twig to make the stem. And then I hot glue it and the gold leaf to the top of the pumpkin to finish it off. Look how cute he is. Isn't he just adorable? I cannot get over how cute these pumpkins are. And now you know how to fill your house full of these adorable little pumpkins. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a like and leave me a comment below telling me what you're doing to prepare for fall. I hope to see you next time. Bye!